Welcome everyone to Concurrent Session A. This session is highlighting Restoration Team, the Domestic Violence Focus Group. Let's start with a bit of housekeeping. This session is being recorded, and we ask that participants keep both your audio and video off during the presentation portion of the session. This will protect the bandwidth and hopefully prevent potential issues with lagging. We have several great internships to hear about, so let's get started. Our featured intern presenters are Latasha Hilaire, Advocacy Intern at Faith House Acadiana, in Lafayette. Mary Burgeon, Host Homes Intern at Finally Family Homes in Valencia, California. Megan Marshall, Advocacy Intern at Louisiana Coalition Against Domestic Violence in Baton Rouge. We will begin by viewing the video reports they have prepared for us, followed by a Q&A where we will be able to ask focused questions about their specific internship experiences. I'm going to go ahead and start the videos.
Hi there, my name is Megan Marshall, and I interned with LCADV, which is Louisiana Coalition Against Domestic Violence. First of all, let me say that this internship was an absolute dream placement. Professor White worked so hard to get them to secure this placement when they have no history of doing it for anyone other than legal internships. It is exactly what I wanted when she first asked me. We had the initial call, what are you interested in? I told her, this is really the only one that comes to mind. I am a current domestic violence advocate as well as a survivor of domestic abuse myself. And I was so interested in learning how they create the laws for victims. I gained tons of insight into how the very practices that I use every single day as an advocate were even created. Every day when I'm working with victims and survivors and their children, it's incredible to see kind of how the sausage was made of, okay, this is a restraining order, and due to this restraining order, these are the steps that happen, and these are the legal steps we can take with you. And I was able to learn how all of that came to be. And their training program alone is completely incredible. I suggest anybody who's interested in domestic violence visiting their website. Their trainings are amazing. All of their resources are just truly thought out and so helpful. My strategic plan objective, well, one of my internship goals was to become a better advocate for domestic violence victims by discovering how laws are made to better protect victims from the repercussions of abuse. Abuse is bad. It is incredibly traumatic, but there are so many rippling effects and repercussions that happen because of it. And I wanted to become a better advocate by learning how I can help control the ripple effects for people. One learning objective was to learn about their history, their structure, and their mission by watching and summarizing so many of their amazing webinars. I completed gun law training and researching the history of LCADV by curating information about the laws enacted resulting from their incredible efforts. I attended more than 10 webinars on the history of LCADV, gun law training, and the laws that are enacted as a result of LCADV efforts, as well as seeing the magic happen for my very own self. I also created a trifold brochure for LCADV that highlights as many services of theirs that I could really express. You'll see at the top that the National Domestic Violence Hotline is on there. Louisiana's, and they are responsible for that. It gives a little bit of their history. It gives all their contact information and a little bit of information letting you know how to become a member. I also created a firearm toolkit. This is for advocates to know all the laws that happen with firearms when it comes to domestic violence victims. So one crucial thing to know is that so many domestic violence victims die because of gun violence. And laws are enacted and put into place now to change that. So this toolkit helps advocates know these are the laws that are in place. Make sure that your local law enforcement is following it. I just want to say I'm impressed with the way they operate. They progress towards the change of the world for victims of domestic violence. Their continual work is truly amazing. My eyes have been opened to how hard it is to get important laws made to protect victims. You think it's nonsensical, but there's so much red tape that you have to go through to have just common sense laws put into place. It's been amazing to be a part of the firearm transfer process. And I was able to see how laws are formed, or even watch a few meetings with the House and Senate to see how people try and push their laws forward. Seeing the way it works is fascinating. The process is intriguing, and he has created an interest in me that I truly did not know was there before. Mariah Wisniewski is the executive director, and she's an amazing human who works tirelessly for something she truly believes in, and you feel that coming through. And Letitia Davis, who was my direct supervisor, is just an absolute dream to work with. She is someone who has her hands in a lot of things and does everything well, as far as I can tell. One final thing I wanted to say is if you or anyone you know is suffering through an abusive relationship, there's help. There's always help. I've listed the National Domestic Violence Hotline here, as well as JuneandJenkins.com, this domestic violence shelter I work for in Louisiana, and LCADV's website. Also, I've listed my Wix page in case you are interested in getting more information. We're all out here. We need to be safe. Abuse is intolerable. It happens far too often. 1 in every 4 women and 1 in every 7 men are victims of domestic violence. And it was an honor to work with LCADV to help our part to put an end to it. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mary Bergen, and this semester I did my internship with Finally Family Homes. They are located in California, so I did do a virtual internship. It was awesome. I loved every second of it, and I absolutely felt included in their program. Finally Family Homes is a program that helps with the aged out foster youth. There are about 26,000 kids each year that age out of the foster care system, and 1 out of 5 kids will end up homeless by the age of 18. So their mission is to support the vulnerable youth who exit the foster care system without having a home. We come alongside these youth, attend to their needs for security, belonging, and self-awareness. The program that I was able to help with was the Host Homes program. This was a new program that Finally Family Homes is currently working on. They received a grant in January, so I have been able to assist them from the beginning with this program itself. And what this program is about is basically, as it is, a host home provider opens their home to these youth to take them in and be their support, be a safe haven for them. It's really awesome to see this program grow from nothing more than just a grant proposal. I have learned new ways to advocate for youth. You think of children in foster care, but what happens to them once they age out? Where do they go? Where are their needs met? So Finally Family Homes is the organization that is there to help meet those needs that the children that have aged out of foster care need. This new program is there to help give them shelter, give them a home, give them a family. And so it's been really interesting to see kind of the best way to advocate for the youth, as well as bring in the people who want to be able to help these youth. And another thing that I really learned was a better way to communicate. from learning how to just be a listener and not always having a solution for the problem. That was a really big step for this program. My overall goal for this internship was to develop a working knowledge of how Finally Family Homes works, what their overall mission and goals are, as well as to help build up the host home program that will bring new life and experience to the organization. One of the things that I was able to do for them was to create social media images where I advocated what was needed, why we needed host home providers. And at the moment, we do not have any providers yet, but we do have lined up 24 youth to join in this host home program as soon as training begins with the providers. So we had to do the artifacts, and one of my favorite was the social media images. This was one of the images that I created, and I just wanted to say, you know, these are the statistics on the homelessness that the foster care system puts out. It's not just these are runaways, these are just kids who have aged out of the foster care system. And so the host home providers are helping to bring those youth safety and warmth and care, things that they've never had. And I think it was really important to advocate for those youth that they don't have that, and if they don't have a place to go, they just end up homeless. This was the second artifact that I created, which was the brochure. I really enjoyed making this one because it offers a real look at what Finally Family Homes is. They aren't just about the host homes program, which is currently what we're working on, but they also have the Life Launch program where they bring in professionals to teach these youth about independency, about finances. And they have these classes for high school and college students, not just college students who have aged out of the system. These are also for high school students who Finally Family Homes has outsourced with schools for children who are in their foster care system. So that is how they have reached to the high school level. They just teach them independent living skills. Sometimes they have job application, how to write an application, things of that sort. So when they do age out of the system, they have some knowledge of how to be independent. Also, this new program with the host homes, it's groundbreaking. There aren't very many out there right now where we're providing a host home for these students once they age out that have nowhere to go, no family, no other source of living other than the streets. So it's been really awesome to see that program grow. My overall reflection for this internship is just mind-blowing. I really have learned how important it is to have host homes. I guess I never really thought about what happens when a kid ages out of the foster care system. You always worry about the kids being in foster care, or, you know, are they going to get adopted? Or that's it. You don't think about, well, once they turn 18 and are out of the system, what happens to them? So it was really eye-opening to see how important it is to have programs like this, that even if they didn't have their host home program that they're building now, they are still trying to have that outreach with these youth, that they feel safe and secure and know that they can go to Finally Family Homes to learn the independency that they need. just the outreach that is needed to reach these youth, to reach their needs, not just, oh, let me give you a room, but their actual needs. Putting together the training for our host home providers, we have talked about being a listener, not trying to solve their problems. We've also had to document trauma that these foster youth have gone through and how undertrained people are to deal with that, as well as being in the foster care system. You aren't getting the adequate care you need to deal with the trauma that you have experienced. So just having the outreach and requirements is so important. And then just my overall skill growth, I would say, has been amazing. I've learned how to do so many things I really didn't think I could do. I learned how to write policies and procedures. Very scary. Did it, made it, survived. But my skill set overall through this semester has been amazing. Christina was my supervisor, and she was absolutely amazing. I feel like I learned so much from her. She honestly was so understanding and knowledgeable in what needed to be done, but was also very open to my opinions, my thoughts. And as for an intern, I didn't really think that I would have a lot of input. So it was really cool to be able to have real input, what I thought would help reach the host home providers better, or in making the workshop training, what I would want to know as a host home provider, having these youth come into my home. Like, what were my thoughts? What would I want to know before having these youth in my home? She has an amazing skill set herself. I feel like I could have asked her anything and she would have known what to do, or would have been able to give me a great source. I did a lot of grant research for the Finally Family Homes, not just for the host home program, but also another program that they will begin working on, which is a tiny homes program. And so I would sometimes get lost and confused on what to do, and she would know exactly where I needed to go next, or have the resources right there. Oh, here, look at this. This will be great for you. I also had some family things come up, and she was so understanding. She would never minded if my baby was sitting in on a meeting while I was with her. I really felt like family, like we were, just having a casual conversation. She definitely made this internship amazing.
Hello, my name is Latasha Hilaire. I was a student intern this semester, spring 2021, at Faith House of Acadiana. In my presentation, I will tell you what is Faith House of Acadiana, my experience, my strategic plan, lab artifacts that I have completed throughout the semester, reflection on my semester, and acknowledgement. What is Faith House of Acadiana? Faith House of Acadiana is a 24-hour crisis center. It provides shelter for survivors of domestic violence. Also, they provide advocacy, mobile advocacy, empowerment, education, support groups, and a family justice center. The mission for Faith House of Acadiana is to provide shelter, safety, empowerment, and advocacy to survivors of domestic violence. My experience here at Faith House of Acadiana during my internship has been wonderful. I have learned so much information about domestic violence. I have learned how to be able to support and help victims of domestic violence and be there for them and their families, such as their children who may have also been affected by domestic violence. My site instructor helped me and supported me throughout my internship, giving me the information I need that would help me not only during my intern, but in my future career. One of my objectives for my strategic plan was to gain knowledge on domestic violence and learn how it impacts the lives of the victims and their families. Before this internship, I knew very little about domestic violence. When I began my training, part of my training was to complete several online classes before I could actually begin my internship. I completed classes such as trauma-informed care, types of victim services, advocacy, intimate partner violence, crisis intervention, just to name a few. After completing each class, I was given a certificate for passing the test. These classes helped me in learning about domestic violence, learning about different situations before I actually begin doing projects as part of my internship. Throughout my internship, I've completed several lab artifacts. This is my trifold brochure on Faith House of Acadiana. I've combined all the pages of the brochure onto this one slide. It shows the information on how to contact Faith House of Acadiana, their mission statements, the several parishes that they provide services to, and all the services that they provide. I think that this brochure would be helpful to people in the community, giving them information about Faith House of Acadiana. Another lab artifacts that I enjoyed completing throughout my internship was one of the unique projects. It was the evaluation form. I completed an evaluation form for the Faith House of Acadiana for survivors when they completed their stay at Faith House of Acadiana. The Faith House of Acadiana will use this evaluation form to get input on their services provided to survivors and their families. This evaluation form will also help Faith House of Acadiana in getting accurate numbers for when they are applying for grants and funding. Previously, survivors were given an evaluation form on paper, and not every survivor completed it. By creating this form online, survivors can complete the evaluation on a computer or a tablet at the facility or from the home or phone. I believe this will be a great asset to Faith House of Acadiana. I believe more survivors will be able to complete this form, which will allow them to possibly get more grants and funding for the services. My reflection: completing my internship at Faith House of Acadiana will be an experience I will never forget. I have learned so much about domestic violence, teen dating violence, and safety. I was given an opportunity to complete projects throughout my internship that have touched me, and I hope it will touch others as well. Learning how domestic violence affects not only the survivor, but children and others is something that I will carry with me throughout my career. I learned so much from completing the online training classes and learned so much from my site supervisor. Acknowledgement. I would like to thank Ms. Kristen Butte, which is the education coordinator for Faith House of Acadiana. Thank you, Ms. Kristen, for giving me the opportunity to complete my internship at your facility, Faith House of Acadiana. You believed in me and supported me every step along my journey. You were always available to assist me with any questions or concerns I had. I appreciate everything you have done to help me complete my projects. I will never forget the first time we actually met through a Zoom call. You welcomed me into the facility. You made me feel comfortable and not nervous. We laughed like we have been knowing each other and working with each other for a long time. Though It was not the normal intern training that you're used to due to the pandemic. You made sure that I received the best training, and I could not have completed my internship without you. Again, I thank you from the bottom of my heart for everything that you have done for me throughout this semester, throughout this internship, and making it a successful one and one that I will never forget. Thank you, Ms. Kristen.
Okay, you guys, that was some great video reports. Great job. Now it's time to open up for a question and answer with the interns. Interns, please turn off your cameras now so we can turn on your cameras now so that we can see you guys. And we ask that the other attendees keep your cameras off for the duration of this session so that we can focus on the interns. We also ask that all attendees leave your microphones off as well unless you are asking a question. This will keep any unexpected sounds from distracting the rest of the session. If you have any questions for the interns, please use the raise hand feature and I will call on you to ask your question. The raise hand feature is found in the meeting toolbar to the left of the red leave button. You can also raise your hand by clicking Control Shift and K at the same time. Or if you would prefer to type your question in the session chat, that would be good too. I will read it to the interns. Before we begin, I want to remind everyone that this session is being recorded. So would anyone like to ask the intern some questions? I would like to ask one. Could each of you tell what was the most rewarding part of your internship?
Sure, I'll go first. The most rewarding part for me, I think, is just being able to find better ways to serve victims of domestic violence, especially through understanding there were laws I found out in this training that I had no idea existed. Like, I'm doing restraining orders every day, and I had no idea that they've had laws established so that if, a restraining order doesn't go into effect until both parties have been served. So if someone's running from being served because they know they're going to be served, the victim isn't protected. Well, there's a law in place that says if you have your paperwork on you and he is there, like say he's at your home and he's not supposed to be with the restraining order in effect, but he hasn't been, you can call the police, hand them your copy, and they will then give that to the victim and they're considered served in violation of a restraining order. I didn't even know that existed. So it's totally changed the way that I've been able to talk to victims and be like, here's other steps that protect you that I didn't even know about. So that's probably been the most valuable to me.
So I would say for myself, something really valuable that I learned was just advocating for foster care youth. We think a lot of the kids who are in foster care, like what's going on in their life, but we don't think about what happens when they're not in foster care. Once you turn 18, that's it, you're done. System kicks you out. Where do you go? So I got to do a lot of research on the numbers, and it's really sad. They don't have family, or for some reason they don't have anything. Even if they maybe were at a foster home, they're no longer there. They're completely gone. The family kicks them out as well. So just advocating and finding the right programs for them, like Finally Family Homes does different groups to help them learn different life skills, like, hey, let's write a resume. You're in high school, let's see if you're getting the right or in the right classes to make college credits if you want to go to school, or let's see if we can find you a job while you're in school. And their whole goal isn't like, you're on the street. I'm so sorry. It's let's find your strength, what works best for you, and we're going to build on your strength. And another thing that was a really big impact for me was learning to be a better listener. It's not your place to fix their problem. Your place is to listen and let them know that there is someone there who cares about them, who will do whatever they can for them. But I'm not going to tell you, oh, let's try to solve the problem by doing this. I'm just here for you to trust and know that someone's always in your corner.
So my intern, it was supposed to be in person, but due to COVID, I was only able to do online, and then I fell sick during the semester. So I was on bed rest for a while, couldn't go into the facility. But being able to just present information online, I did a lot of social media posts for Faith House of Acadiana. February was Teen Dating Safety Month, where I went and did some research and found numbers and made posts on their Facebook page about teen dating safety that they shared on not only on their social media page, but with different high schools throughout the different parishes. I also worked a lot with the children's program. I created a comfort zone, which is like a little safety nook when the child is maybe angry or they acting out. They can go in that little safety zone and kind of calm down, read a book, or just kind of relax in that area to try to calm themselves down. It was a very fun and interesting internship, and I enjoyed my time there, and I learned a lot from Faith House of Acadiana and my site supervisor, and like I say, it was a real good experience for me.
I have a question from Haley. Mary, she wants to know, do you know if Louisiana has any programs like the one that you work with?
Okay, there we go. Sorry, I kept going back and forth. I honestly am not sure because mine was just California. I did a lot of research in California, and I currently also don't live in Louisiana. I live in El Paso, Texas. So any other research I kind of did was kind of in the Texas area. There are actually a lot of other states that do host homes. They aren't always just for aged out foster youth. There actually are a lot of host homes for like mentally challenged adults. So instead of just putting them in like group homes, they actually get to go and live with families who can also help take care of them when their families don't want to take care of them. So I did see a lot of those. And then a lot of other of the host homes also started with like younger kids. So some groups would have like start at 12. Whereas this program, they only start, it's like 18 to 25 or 16 to 25, kind of in that age range. But as far as Louisiana goes, I'm not 100% sure because my research was mainly California and then I did some Texas.
I have one more question from Catherine. Did your internships change your perspective about domestic violence? And what is the biggest lesson that you will be taking with you past graduation?
This intern, it really helped me. Like I said, I didn't know anything. I knew about domestic violence, but I don't have anyone close to me that has been a survivor of domestic violence. So learning about domestic violence and ways I could help people that I may encounter in the future, I think, that was a good experience, to know more about it. And I would definitely, would love to work in the career or in the field with domestic violence. I know the Faith House is hoping to expand their services in the next couple of years. So, that would be something to keep in mind, and I wouldn't mind, working with domestic violence victims in the future.
My perspective, I guess, I don't know that was changed. Like I've said, I've been working with victims for years, and I am one myself. So I think like the biggest lesson I'll be taking away past graduation, especially from this internship, is just there are so many facets to how we can help people. There are so many types of domestic violence that people don't even know about. You think physical and emotional and sexual, but there's like financial, there's narcissistic abuse. There's all different kinds. And there are so many laws that we're trying to pass and that have already been passed that local police stations and sheriff's department have no idea exist. I can't tell you now through LCADV how I've gone to our sheriff's department and be like, you're not abiding by this and this is law. And they're like, oh, we've never heard of that. How have you never heard of a law that you're supposed to implement? So I think that's what I'll be taking from graduation is there's so much more education that needs to be put out there in the world. And it's our job as advocates to do that.
So I'll say I did not really do a lot of domestic violence because mine was more focused on the foster youth. But we did have to create, I'm working on a workshop for them for preparing for the host home providers. And we have a whole section of trauma-informed care. So how to deal with these youth and young adults who have been through trauma, like what's the best resources that you can provide for them. And I think that is so important that we advocate as much as we possibly can for them. And I mean, like Megan said, there are so many laws and regulations that we don't even know about until we really get in there and start looking. So I think one of the biggest things as perspective wise that I'll take away is don't just go off of what you think the law is. Really look into it because there are so many other options and avenues that you can go down to get the right answer and the just response that they need.
Okay, you guys, it looked like we're out of time for this session. Thank you to all of our participants for asking great questions, and a big thank you to our wonderful presenters for sharing their internship experiences with us. When I end this session, you will be back on the channel where we originally entered. I encourage you to review the conference schedule, then join us in another session. Thanks for joining us today, and I hope to see you in the next session. Great job, you guys.